10 strangers were invited to an isolated island, each with a hidden past. Within days, all 10 were dead. A childish rhyme of my infancy, the rhyme of the 10 little soldier boys, the sense of inevitability. This sense of inevitability suggests that everything that happened was planned. I began, secretly, to collect victims. 10 little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys stayed up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8. 8 little soldier boys traveling in Devon. One said he'd stay there, and then there were 7. 7 little soldier boys chopping up sticks. One chopped himself in halves, and then there were 6. 6 little soldier boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stung one, and then there were 5. 5 little soldier boys going in for law. One got in chancery, and then there were 4. 4 little soldier boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. 3 little soldier boys walking in the zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2. 2 little soldier boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up, and then there were 1. 1 little soldier boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself, and then there were none. He was out to get people who were beyond the reach of the law. All 10 individuals were connected by past actions that led to someone's death, but none had been punished, and one by one, the deaths began to match the nursery rhyme, and as each person dies, the tension grows and the trust disappears. To understand what's really going on during the time on this island, we can actually connect it to history, specifically how justice has been carried out over time. In early legal systems, punishment was often harsh and led to death, where the judges had the last rule over life and death. But the killer in this story takes us even further, where he or she removes the legal system entirely and acts all by him or herself as the judge, jury, and executor in this case. Over history, there's been a major difference between legal justice and vigilante justice, where legal justice follows laws and evidence, while vigilante justice happens when someone takes the law into their own hands. What the killer in this story represents vigilante justice, as he or she ultimately decides who is guilty without a trial. From a science perspective, the character's behavior can be explained through psychology, where when people are under extreme stress, their brains activate that flight or fight response we have probably all heard of before. Well, as the group in this story becomes more afraid, they stop thinking logically and begin reacting emotionally, where these moments show how fear begins to control their actions. There was a moment of petrified silence, and then a resounding crash. Rogers had dropped the coffee tray. At the same moment, from somewhere outside the room, there came a scream and the sound of a thud. We're not going to leave the island. None of us will ever leave. It's the end, you see. The end of everything. Yes, this business has got you rattled all right. And as the group shrinks, the isolation becomes just as dangerous as the killer. Psychologically, isolation can have a major impact on the human mind, and when people are cut off from the outside world, stress increases and the act of paranoia becomes way more likely. She didn't want to die. She couldn't imagine wanting to die. time, death was for the other people. And by now, the thoughts that ran through their brains were abnormal, feverish, disease. Sat there, exquisitely happy, exquisitely at peace, no more fear. Was alone on the island. Kicked away the chair. We can see the accelerations and the breakdowns of each character. This story connects to both history and science because it raises real questions. Who has the right to decide justice? And how do humans behave when they are placed in an environment that feeds off of psychological pressure? Based on the evidence, could this case have been solved? Throughout the investigation, clues were present, but they required careful analysis and interpretation that requires a real investigative reader. Could your class solve the mystery? But beyond solving the mystery, another question emerges. Could you handle the psychological pressure of the island? Because as the fear increases, the rational thinking decreases, really showing how the human brain reacts under extreme stress. Would your class be able to stay rational? And finally, the biggest question of all, was justice truly served? In history, justice is meant to be fair and lawful, but when someone takes the power into their own hands, it becomes something else. Would your class take justice or control? I must appear to be the next victim. It was my ambition to invent a murder mystery that no one could solve. When the sea goes down, there will come from the mainland boats and men, and they will find 10 dead bodies and an unsolved problem on Soldier Island. Signed. In the end, the mystery remains unsolved, but the question it raises are too important to ignore. All 10 are dead, but no clear answer is left behind. Would your class be able to solve the mystery? And then there were none.